I had always wanted to travel to Europe, so when my friend Emily told me she was planning a trip to England for her birthday, I jumped at the chance to come along. We gathered up 5 other friends who shared our passion for international exploration. Jake, Olivia, Sarah, Tom, and Matt, and booked our flights and accommodations for a 2-week adventure in jolly old London town. As soon as we arrived, we couldn't help but feel like proper tourists. We visited all the major landmarks, such as Buckingham Palace and Westminster Abbey, took pictures with the guards outside St. James's Palace, and even managed to catch a glimpse of Her Majesty herself driving past us in her royal carriage. However, despite all these exciting experiences, something felt off. We sensed that not everything was quite as it seemed. One evening, while sitting down for dinner at a local pub, we overheard some of the older patrons discussing recent reports of wild animals running amok throughout the city. Our ears perked up at this news as we were fascinated by any mention of wildlife. But as soon as we asked if these animals could potentially pose a threat to us, they shot back with warnings of heeding their advice to stay indoors after dark if we knew what was good for us. Before we could push further into their conversation, they quickly changed topics, leaving us feeling both curious and uneasy. We tried to shrug off these feelings of apprehension, telling ourselves that such folklore wasn't worth taking seriously. After all, weren't werewolves just characters in cheesy horror movies or lame television shows? But then things began happening that made our fear grow stronger by the day. The first incident occurred on the 3rd night of our journey. As we left our airbend flat in Camden Town to check out some nearby clubs and bars, Sarah noticed someone dash across the street, leap over fences, and ultimately vanish into thin air. She pointed him out to us, shouting out, "Look, there goes another wolf." But when she turned to share that no matter how far we ran, however, the werewolf refused to give up the chase. His razor-sharp teeth snapped inches away from my skin as his paws slapped against the concrete floor. With every step forward, a part of me wondered whether Emily would ever forgive me should my body end up lying lifeless before her eyes. But I pushed those negative thoughts aside and maintained focus on reaching safe ground. And eventually we did. Out of breath and heart still racing, I spun around to face my enemy head-on. To my surprise, the creature appeared less menacing than before now, that it no longer wore the mask of a man. Its matted fur hung loosely from its emaciated frame as its yellowing eyes peered directly into mine. For a moment, a sense of mutual understanding passed between us, a recognition that each understood the pain of transitioning from human to monstrous form under the power of the full moon's gaze. Then, without warning, the werewolf let out a blood-curdling screech and sprang toward me once more. Fear propelled me backward, causing me to stumble over my own feet, until landing heavily upon the cobblestones below. With barely enough time to react, my hand reached out blindly, hoping to find purchase on something, anything that could keep the beast from tearing out my throat. My fingers brushed against cold metal, leading my vision to shift towards what rested beside me, a rusted steel pipe likely left over from some forgotten construction project long ago. Instinctively, I clutched hold of it tightly within my trembling grasp. In an instant, My mind processed everything from my training sessions spent practicing self-defense techniques with my father growing up. Adrenaline surged through my veins as my reflexes kicked into overdrive, bringing the makeshift weapon down upon the monster's skull with all my might. The impact produced a sickening crack, echoing ominously in my ears as my attacker crumpled to the ground motionless. Reality slowly began settling in. A mixture of disbelief mixed with relief that I survived, coupled despite these setbacks. Our resolve remained steadfast, with nothing more than our ingenuity, quick thinking, and determination. We resolved to confront whatever obstacle stood between us and the truth regarding London's supposed lycanthrope population. Our search led us deeper and deeper into London's hidden recesses, where few tourists dared tread, from abandoned subway stations to dilapidated industrial parks. No location proved too bleak nor barren to warrant investigating, whenever whispers hinted at potential werewolf sightings within. Even the sewers posed little challenge once we fashioned pipes into crude blowguns loaded with various poisons harvested from nature itself. But as each passing day stretched on without further encounters or revelatory leads, doubt crept back into our minds. Perhaps our hunt amounted to naught but rumor and conjecture. Maybe London's streets didn't conceal mysterious shapeshifters, prowling beneath the full moon's watchful gaze. It wouldn't have surprised us if, ultimately, our endeavors yielded zilch beyond scratches, bruises, and countless sleepless nights spent worrying about the unknown. And yet fate, or rather luck, intervened during our 17th night in England. An anonymous tip claimed a secret gathering near Hyde Park involving several individuals resembling humans during daylight hours, yet behaving oddly upon arriving home later in the evening. Something inside this informant compelled them to seek us out. Perhaps sympathy stemming from similar circumstances binding us together. Regardless, this information represented our last opportunity to either validate or debunk centuries of superstition surrounding a certain four-legged predator, infamous for terrorizing villages long before modern civilization arose. Arriving at our destination, we split into pairs while keeping contact via walkie. Talkies provided courtesy of Jake's former career as a security guard. Each duo carefully navigated alleys and side streets, searching for any signs of strange comings and goings among the residents. As Olivia and I made our way down a dimly lit alley, we noticed a flickering light emanating from a partially open door of an old, decrepit building. Curiosity piqued. We cautiously approached the entrance, careful not to make any noise that might alert whoever or whatever was inside. The air grew heavy with anticipation as we pushed the door open just enough to peer inside. What we saw sent a chill down our spines. The room was dimly lit by candles, casting eerie shadows on the walls. In the center, a group of individuals stood in a circle, their eyes closed and bodies swaying in a synchronized rhythm. And in the middle of the circle, there it was, a creature so terrifying and primal that it sent shivers down our spines. A werewolf. Its fur was a dark, matted mess, and its yellow eyes glowed with an otherworldly intensity. Its mouth was agape, revealing sharp, gleaming fangs. The werewolf's presence seemed to dominate the room, commanding the attention and obedience of the others. It was a sight straight out of a nightmare. As we continued to watch, spellbound by the surreal scene before us, a sudden creak echoed through the room. The door we had carefully left ajar swung open wider, revealing our presence. The werewolf's gaze locked onto us, and a low growl rumbled from its throat. Fear gripped us, but we refused to let it paralyze us. Without thinking, Olivia and I turned and sprinted back through the alleyway, our hearts pounding in our chests. We could hear the werewolf's heavy footsteps close behind us, its growls growing louder and more menacing. We ran for what felt like an eternity, the adrenaline fueling our desperate flight. But the creature was relentless, its snarls and snuffs growing closer with each passing second. Our bodies screamed for us to stop, but we pushed on, our determination overriding our exhaustion. Just as we felt our legs give out beneath us, we stumbled upon a narrow, winding staircase leading down into darkness. With no other options, we took the risk and descended into the unknown, praying that it would provide a temporary sanctuary from the relentless pursuit. The staircase seemed to stretch on forever, the sound of our own breath, the only thing echoing in the suffocating silence. Finally, we reached the bottom, finding ourselves in a hidden underground chamber. The air was stale and heavy with dampness, and the only source of light came from a single flickering bulb dangling from the ceiling. Cautiously, we ventured deeper into the chamber, the eerie silence broken only by the distant sound of our pursuer. We stumbled upon a metal door rusted and weathered by time. It stood slightly ajar, inviting us to step through and discover what lay beyond. With trepidation, we pushed the door open, revealing a hidden catacomb. Rows upon rows of skeletal remains lined the walls, a chilling reminder of the darkness that had taken hold of this place. The air grew colder, and a whispering wind seemed to echo through the labyrinthine tunnels. As we cautiously navigated the catacomb, we stumbled upon a worn, leather-bound journal lying on a stone pedestal. Intrigued, we opened it, revealing the handwritten accounts of a long-forgotten hunter. The journal spoke of a secret society that had dedicated their lives to protecting London from the curse of the werewolves. According to the journal, the society had existed for centuries, passing down knowledge and techniques from one generation to the next. Their duty was to identify and eliminate werewolves before they could unleash their savagery upon innocent victims. The catacombs served as their clandestine headquarters, a place where they planned and strategized their battles against the creatures of the night. The journal described rituals, ancient incantations, and methods of identifying and tracking werewolves. It was a wealth of information that could potentially save lives and bring an end to the reign of terror that had plagued London for far too long. As we delved deeper into the journal, we became determined to continue the legacy of the secret society. We would take up the mantle and protect the city from the horrors that lurked within. Armed with newfound knowledge, courage, and a burning desire for justice, we vowed to wage war against the werewolves that roamed the shadows of London. And so our journey took a dark turn. No longer mere tourists seeking adventure, we became warriors fighting to save a city from the grip of fear. With each werewolf we hunted down and eliminated, we grew stronger and more determined. We were no longer victims, but hunters in the night. The legend of the werewolves in London would forever be etched in our memories. Our friendship, forged through the trials and terrors we faced, would never be forgotten. And as we walked the streets of London, we knew that the city would be forever grateful for our sacrifice and bravery. For in the depths of darkness, we found the strength to fight, the courage to endure, and the will to protect. And as long as evil creatures threatened the innocent, we would be there, standing as a shield against the terrors that lurked in the night. For just $3 a month, you can have your name featured in my YouTube videos and descriptions. Not only will you be supporting my channel, but you'll also be immortalized in the credits of my content. If you're looking for something a bit more personalized, consider becoming a $25 a month patron. I'll voice your stories and bring them to life on my channel. Create a special drawing just for you, or even write a unique story tailored to your interests. So don't hesitate. Join my patron community today and help me keep the spooky stories coming. And remember, together we can save each other from the YouTube algorithm. Thank you for your support.